This third-party controller may or may not give the Nintendo Switch Pro controller a run for its money. What is up, guys? My name is Chase, and the Pro controller is my favorite way to play games on my Nintendo Switch. It may even be one of my favorite controllers of all time. But that's not to say that the Nintendo Switch Pro controller is absolutely perfect, whether it's the joystick drift or the very just not great D-pad. And so that got me interested in looking for some Pro controller alternatives, which is when I happened upon the 8Bitdo Ultimate Bluetooth controller. This is more of a non-budget friendly third-party controller coming from 8Bitdo, which also happens to be the same price as the Switch Pro controller, coming in at $70 US. So I think generally speaking, the 8Bitdo Ultimate controller is meant to be a direct competitor to the Switch Pro controller. In this video, I wanted to share my thoughts on the 8Bitdo Ultimate Bluetooth controller. Now, right off the bat, I can say that there are a lot of things that this controller does very well. So let's start off with the pros of the 8Bitdo Ultimate controller. When you think third party, you may expect a cheap plastic feeling controller. So what about the 8Bitdo Ultimate? Does it feel cheap? The majority of this controller is encased in this smooth matte plastic finish, quite similar to something like the PlayStation 5 DualSense or the Xbox Core controller. Meanwhile, near the bottoms of the grips on the controller, you get a bumpy pattern which gives it a rough texture compared to the rest of the controller. Once again, it's similar to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox controllers. This provides a very solid feeling grip that makes the controller not slip around in the palms of your hand. The 8Bitdo Ultimate actually features analog triggers. These triggers allow you to apply different amounts of pressure for a very smooth and full feeling press. Unlike the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, where the ZL and ZR buttons are essentially just a single press button click. 8Bitdo is also well known for their line of Super Nintendo shaped controllers that feature a D-pad extremely close to the original SNES controller. And the Ultimate controller brings along a D-pad that is very similar to the one 8Bitdo is known for. It feels incredibly familiar with the perfect amount of squishiness, making it perfect for 2D side-scrollers like Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It is definitely better than the sad D-pad on the Nintendo Switch Pro controller in my opinion. The 8Bitdo Ultimate controller even comes with this stand that will wirelessly charge your controller. Perfect if you want to show off how much of a freaking Giga Chad you are. Plus, if you take a look at the bottom of this charging stand, you have a nice little compartment to store the included USB adapter. But what if we turn this controller around? On the back of the controller, you'll find two nondescript buttons. That's already two more buttons than the Pro controller. Now, what do these buttons do? Well, if you go onto 8Bitdo's website, download the Ultimate software, and plug your controller into your computer, you're able to map these two buttons, as well as every button, to any other button or control. Heck, you can set up to down and down to up if you just want to watch the world burn. The software is, for the most part, pretty intuitive. You can adjust lots of little details with your controller, down to how sensitive you want the triggers to be. And once you set up multiple profiles, you can quickly switch between them on the controller itself. Now, if you've played the Nintendo Switch, you're probably familiar with what has become known as drift, and not of the Tokyo variety. As the material of the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con's thumbsticks wear down, they begin to develop this issue where the Switch thinks you're pressing a direction on the joystick even if you're not even pressing it. And after almost 7 years of the Nintendo Switch being out, there has yet to be a proper fix to joystick drift. Until now. The 8Bitdo Ultimate features these new Hall effect joysticks. Now, what the heck does that mean? I don't know. From what I understand, Hall effect joysticks use magnets for stick movement rather than actual materials pressing against each other. So ideally, these sticks should be way more durable and reliable than traditional analog sticks. And as far as what I can tell so far, I don't know. This is the type of thing that will require months or even years of use to get a definitive opinion on. But what I can say is that it is very comforting knowing that this controller is future-proofed with these Hall effect sticks. And oftentimes, if I have to choose a controller, I'll end up going with the 8Bitdo Ultimate just so that I don't wear down the sticks on my $70 Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Now with this being a third-party controller, you do get a few minor trade-offs from the official Nintendo Switch Pro controller. For one thing, you don't get the HD Rumble feature that you get in Nintendo's Joy-Con and Pro controller, but we'll talk about that more a bit later. And you also don't get amiibo support. Now don't get me wrong, I would imagine that the amount of people who actually use amiibo in games is quite slim. But it is unfortunate that you don't even have the option to use your amiibo figures to pretend to have friends in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, or to receive rare items in Tears of the Kingdom. It's a minor trade-off, but something that I think is important to mention. This may be totally subjective, but I have yet to find a controller that truly replicates the satisfaction I get from the Pro controller's face buttons. The gigantic buttons on the Pro controller are perfect for pretty much every game. They just feel really great to press or mash. Meanwhile, the 8Bitdo Ultimate controller has what I would call very traditional modern face buttons. They are essentially just the buttons you would find on an Xbox controller. They're way smaller and slimmer than the Pro controller's buttons, and they have a rounded, glossy feeling to them. Obviously, whether or not you like these buttons will depend on your own personal preferences. It's not a make or break for this controller in my opinion, but personally speaking, I much prefer the Pro controller's face buttons to the 8Bitdo Ultimates. Sure, the lack of amiibo support is a bit sad, but there is another lacking feature in the 8Bitdo Ultimate that is quite disappointing. The 8Bitdo Ultimate controller does not feature HD Rumble. Although this might not sound like the end of the world, I will say that it is something that I noticed quite often while playing games. The subtle rumble that you get while drifting in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or while battling in Splatoon 3 is very missed out while using this controller. Instead, you get a very all-in or all-out type of rumble. And especially with the default settings, I've noticed that the rumble in this controller can either feel way too strong or way too weak. The good news though is that you can use the 8Bitdo Ultimate software to adjust the rumble in either the left or right sides of the controller. The 8Bitdo Ultimate controller is a very nice alternative to the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. It packs in pretty much everything you need in a modern controller in 2023, with dual analog triggers and button mapping and customization. Plus, it even goes farther than some of the first-party controllers, with features like a very solid feeling D-pad and the Hall effect sticks. So I'm fairly confident in recommending the 8Bitdo Ultimate controller as an alternative to the first-party controllers. Now, if you're interested in diving deeper into even more accessories, feel free to check out my video below. Let me know in the comments if you guys will be picking up the 8Bitdo Ultimate controller. For now, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to all of our members. My name is Chase, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.